Brown. Oh, here we go again.
We're on.
I got it. Rob. Hey, so Arvin, he knows Marvis Frazier.
Okay.
And so I feel like Marvin should knock him in the head right now. And he goes, why? Anyway, I was just kidding you, Rob. Hey, I was saying, so Derek, is fighting this battle. Drew Bledsoe, Damon Heward. He's getting props from everywhere in the country now support him. So it's really positive for him because he needs it, man. Stage 4 is pancreatic cancer is a real deal. Anyway, so I figured you might know.
Yeah, Damon and I played in high school. Funny you mentioned that.
Oh, did you play with Damon?
Yep.
Damon Heward?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damon, hey, these guys are Brock and Sam Heward. I mean, these guys are born to.
I was right between Brock and Damon, so I played with both of them. My age group, our class was the one class that played with both of them.
You're big, dude. What position did you play?
Back then, I was a power forward. I mean, right now, I think I'd be a little point guard in the NBA. They'd be like, man, this guy's too small.
So Heward was a basketball player?
Heward led the state in scoring.
Really?
Did he really?
Damon Heward and Donnie Marshall from UConn.
I know Donnie.
Wow,
My
yeah.
brother Buddy.
Yeah, so Donnie Marshall and Damon Heward somehow both averaged 26.2 points per game. Some weird random,
Wow.
They both averaged the exact
That's
same amount.
strange.
Yeah, Damon was all everything basketball player, man. He he got buckets, and Brock was good too, but Damon
I didn't know
scored.
Damon played. I didn't know that about this guy. I knew Brock.
But he made his career playing football, right?
Absolutely, yes,
Wow.
yes.
What an athlete.
But at 6'4", 6'5", he was shooting those turnaround jumpers that everybody kind of shoots now. When I look back on it, you laugh, but he would turn over his shoulder and fade, and it was so new to the game in the 90s.
I didn't know he was that big.
Yep, he's about 6'4", 6'5", I'd say.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, if you would be a small point guard now, what does that leave me? I'm like 5'11 and a half, shrinking.
I mean, there's not many of anybody under 6 foot. I mean, who's under 6 foot in the NBA right now?
I don't know.
I mean, Isaiah Thomas
yeah.
I mean, Isaiah Thomas goes from being third in the MVP voting and an all-star to can't even get a job right now.
Not crazy.
Hey, man, but he's ready. He's going to get picked up this year at some point.
I remember what it was, Rob. It was your mother had taken a fall. Is she okay?
Oh, she sure did, man. She looked like she went a couple of rounds with Tyson, and she's 95.
Yes.
And she's fine.
Okay. That's what it was, Rob, when we rescheduled originally. That's what it was.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for remembering. Yeah, she's kind of remarkable. The doctor was like, I ain't never seen anything like that. So she didn't break anything, and she did a face plant on a marble floor, going head over heels over her walker, and landed on that. She was all bruised up, bloody, beaten, black and blue, but didn't break a bone. Not even her nose. She can take a shot.
That gives you hope for a few more years, huh?
Yeah, I mean, as far as what I've been imbued with, I can't complain.
Yeah,
what I do with it from there, that's on me.
Every time my dad or my mom battles, I'm like, boy, okay, I got it's in my blood.
Yeah, good. Well, how do you guys know each other, you and Greg?
Gosh, we have tons and tons of mutual friends, and Greg reached out to me probably about 4, maybe 5 months ago, I want to say, and we just hit it off, had a great conversation, and just been kind of staying in touch ever since. So we don't really know each other per se, but we know everybody who knows everybody.
Well,
who knows
I mean, you're both in the inner sanctum of Hoopville out there, so I would.
What attracted me to Arvin was I kept seeing these postings. I knew he's kind of coach. I looked at my LinkedIn, and I just kept seeing over and over, like, this guy's doing these amazing things with kids. And I'm like, man, he had basketball background, his leadership. I'm like, I got to check this dude out. So we connected and did a little Zoom call. And that's when I found he was a real deal. And then ever since then, I mean, he puts the money where his mouth is because he's doing stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And he hooked me up with some cool programs working with kids who were struggling through the virus. And so I knew right then we had to get him on a 3 Ps. He's definitely a passionate, purposeful man.
Yeah. So let's get into that, because that's sort of the reason Greg invited you here, and having looked you up and read about you and everything else, you're like, you're in the crosshairs of passion, purpose, and principle. So when did you discover what your passions and purpose? I know your principles. I'm imagining those were drilled into you at birth and from then on. But you know, you're kind of a coach's coach, from what I understand. When did that desire become important to you to be that guy?
Where I'm at now wasn't exactly what I planned. I had two goals. My dad teases me when I was in 5th grade. I told him I'm going to be a running back in the NFL, or I'm going to be a high school PE teacher and coach basketball.
Wow.
Those were the two things. I used to watch John Thompson on the sideline, and I remember I would just watch how he coached and how he would do this and the towel. And then obviously, you know, the outlaw guys, you know, I loved my man at UNLV, you know, Tarkenton and
fighting the towel.
Yeah. And I used to just love watching, and even Bobby Knight. And I used to just watch the coaches. It was crazy. I grew up watching. I just loved watching what they did. And what it evolved into was what I realized I like to teach. I'm a teacher. That's what I like to do.
Yeah.
And it really evolved when I started my company about 4 or 5 years ago. I named it Triple Impact Coaching, and Triple Impact is because I'm a teacher, I'm a leader, and I'm a caretaker, right? And ultimately, I use basketball as the tool. We use basketball as the reason that 30 people show up because of the basketball, but they keep coming because we teach them, we lead them, and we care for them. And so that's really kind of the genesis of who I am and where I'm at right now.
So tell me a little bit about your being a caretaker. What does that mean?
Well, we put social emotional development right at the top of the list. I'm a firm believer that I can't teach you a crossover or a jump stop or a fancy move if we can't have a conversation about who we are as people, and we can't kind of come to some agreement on what's important to us. And so, for example, when I work, not as much with the older kids, but when I work with young kids, to be a caretaker, the first thing we do is a check-in. If you went to any after-school program, if you went to any extended learning program, the first thing we do is a check-in. It might be a 1, 2, or a 3. It might be a green, red, or yellow. For us, we do bricks and swishes. So I asked the kids, share a swish from the last week. What's something awesome? I give them a chance to brag. What is a swish that happened this week? What's a basket that you made or a hurdle that you overcame? You know, brag a little bit about a swish in your life. And then what's a brick? Share a brick, maybe, you know, where you just came up short, or, you know, that test you thought you studied, but you didn't do as well, or you got in trouble for something. And so we talk to kids, really give them that time at the beginning of a session to share a brick and a swish with each other. And then we wrap the session up with a spotlight. And a spotlight, we all get in a big circle, and I tell the kids, somebody step in and compliment somebody. And it really takes on a life of its own once you teach them what it is. So the first kid will walk in and they'll say, I wanted to say, Rob did a good job today. Generic. But as it evolves, then they start to understand, you know, Rob couldn't dribble with his left hand last week. Rob's using his left hand this week. Hey, Rob, I just want to say good job using your left hand this week. And the kids really start to latch on how to treat each other the way they want to be treated, how to respect each other, and then how to like look at each other as people and individuals with different skills, and not just, well, he's good or he's bad or she's good or bad, but your left hand is getting better. And I see that. When you hear that from a peer, especially at 11 years old, 10 years old, it means way more than the one of us three telling a kid, good job this week.
Man,
so,
that kind of makes me a little emotional. Not sure exactly why. I think it's going a couple of levels deeper with kids, and to me that's emotional.
Thank you. Yeah,
I want to play for him right now.
So do I.
Yeah.
I want some compliments from my peers.
Yeah, that's.
Can I bring some adult friends down there and make that same thing happen?
Hey, Greg.
Yeah.
You shoot lights out, brother.
Oh, thank you, sir. I wish I could do that when I actually played against.
Yeah, you liar. You could shoot, man.
But, you know, especially in this time right now, too, with COVID and everything that these kids are going through, just that interaction is so important. Talking face to face with somebody, like looking at somebody, and talking to them. And I have to say that. And I have to say that at times, hey, look at each other.
Yeah.
Because kids, you know, it's hard when you're 8, 9 years, you know, I have kids as young as 5 or 6.
Wow.
And they have to talk to each other, and that's really difficult sometimes.
I can't even put a value on that. And we talk about it a lot, about kids are buried in their phones. They're obsessed with the phones, and the art of communication is disappearing. So it's really incumbent upon coaches. You know, they're the ones they're the frontline workers with young kids. People like yourself, Greg, myself on occasion, to encourage kids and make them feel safe talking about intimate stuff and just speaking the language without, you know, having to do it in 17 characters and whatnot, I think is a critical skill to bring about in kids.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, thank you.
I think arguably it's more important than the crossover. Maybe not to them, or they don't think so right now, but it's going to serve them well as they grow up. And, you know, so might the crossover, but communication, I taught for a long time, and I was in the communication school, and that's the first thing I told them, first day of class, is communication isn't just digital images, it's speaking and writing. I don't care how you speak to your friends, but when you speak to me, I want you to speak properly.
Yep. And to turn it back to basketball, basketball's a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the phrases that I teach early, and I ask kids, you know, basketball is what? Fun. Okay. Basketball is what? Hard. Okay. But what is basketball? Basketball's a conversation. If you want to play at a high level, you got to be able to talk to the person next to you. Like you said, you can't text them, you can't email them. We have to talk.
Yeah.
And so, you nailed it right there, Rob.
No, you did. I'm just commenting on it. Greg and I speak with coaches because coaches are critical, I think, and Greg does, to our youth. And it's the coach who cares about the whole individual, not just whether you can win a game for me, but, you know, be a whole person.
Yep.
Hey, Arvin, one thing I think about nowadays more than ever is, you know, we're the same guy at some level, watching, you know, these programs in AAU, and I think some of it's mental abuse, and, you know, we're missing an opportunity to teach because we throw them into this crazy system. But you have all these programs, and you do things opposite what I see out there, which is the hustle and winning. How are you different? How'd you create some of these programs? I watched some of your programs stuff. That one you sent me is amazing.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to train the best players. Like everybody else, I just want to be with the best players. I want to train the elite high school players. And part of where I'm at now came from a function of competition. I realized that at the top, think of it as a basketball, as a pyramid. At the top of the pyramid is LeBron and Steph and KD, and it works its way down to the really good high school players. And then at the bottom, we have these kindergartners. And at the top of the pyramid, your impact is a little bit less because these guys are getting pulled in so many directions, and these young ladies pulled in so many directions. They have so much advice, so many people that want to help them. And so we were laughing, a good friend of mine, we were doing some we called it Sunday skill sessions. And they had the really good players, the high school players, that we had some awesome players in Tacoma, Seattle area. We had middle school. And then we had this beginner group, and nobody wanted to do the beginner group. Now, mind you, I was a college head coach for 9 seasons. I was a cusser, a screamer, a yeller. I would cuss and yell at the refs, and because that's kind of what I thought was coaching. And so I said, you know what, I'll go coach the young kids. And everybody was like, thank you, because nobody wanted to go do it. So I went to the kindergarten court, and I got done. I was like, this is kind of fun, and I had to get creative because they can't do crossovers in between the legs. And I really had to think. I had to teach. I couldn't just coach. I had to teach. Yeah. And this was in 2016, maybe 2015 we started. And so then every time we do a camp, I kind of got stereotyped and pigeonholed. Mosley will do the little kids. And then what I realized from a pure financial standpoint, there's more kindergartners that are learning to play the game than there are LeBron Jameses and Kyries and everybody at the top of the pyramid. So from a business function, every year there's new kindergartners coming in. Every year the number never changes. So So from financial, I was like, well, this is a great niche to have, right? I've really niched it down to recreational, to train players. And so what I've done is I really set the foundation with the young players. We teach them how to hold the ball when the coach is talking, how to stand behind the line, how to get a partner and go to the baseline. Where's the elbow? So I really get to break the game down and just teach. And so that's kind of how I ended up with working with so much recreational basketball. Now, and I still travel the country and work my Elite Has Earned events with some of the top girls basketball players in America. And but I still really just, my weekly classes, man, are what I just love going and helping a kid. You know, a great teacher can ignite that passion, right? And that's just really what I love to do.
And likewise, a selfish, self-invested teacher can kill a kid's interest.
Absolutely.
I was just talking to a mother who, you know, whose kid played for the same high school baseball coach my kid played for. My kid was the captain 2 years, but this guy didn't do him any good either. But with a couple of kids, he absolutely trounced their love of the game to the point where I know this mother told me her kid, he may not ever pick up a bat again. And he was a talented player. So I think overall coaching is underestimated, the importance of coaching, even at the youth level, maybe more so at the youth level, because that's when kids are most impressionable. So if you're taking young kids and you know, encouraging them to love the game and, you know, be active and speaking and part of it, that's just invaluable. You know, you got to feel, I don't know if you take time to, but you got to feel great about what you're doing. You're contributing heavily.
No, I appreciate it. And I do every once in a while. I got a thank you note from a kid, little 5-year-old, 6-year-old that didn't play basketball, can barely catch the ball, can barely run and throw and all these things, but he wants to keep coming because it's fun and because we give him a chance. And so that is the reward in and of itself. I mean, it really truly is. And I'm not foolish enough not to understand I do get paid to do this too. Like what? Like people pay me to love on their children and high five their kids and play in the gym with them. I mean,
that ain't bad.
Not at all. Not at all.
Hey, Arvin, you know what I love about what I see is that I see there's two sides of this, right? There's the kids who want to develop and learn how to play basketball. My mentor is John Stockton, right? So I'm pretty fundamental. I don't see kids, even older, they're phenomenal skill, understand the game of basketball. It's not fundamentals because that lower level kid, whether it's in basketball or life, needs a foundation, some fundamentals. And I don't know about you, but for me, those fundamentals I learned in basketball, not just dribbling and shooting, all that stuff, but work ethic and attitude and all that stuff transferred over to real life. And I think that's where you have a captive audience of kids where you're building that foundation. And guys like you, I can tell, are making a huge impact where many kids aren't getting that opportunity because they don't even play sports because they ain't fun anymore.
Yep. Well, what is that? 70% of the kids quit by the age of 13, and over 60% point to the reason that they quit as being parents. So I don't know, you saw, Greg, that I'm doing the 3-on-3 league that starts on Sunday.
Yeah, I saw that. It's cool.
And I talked to the parents at the beginning, and I brought that stat up. 70% of your kids are going to stop by the age of 13, and over 60% of them are going to do it because of you.
And why is that? Why? Because they're just putting pressure on the kids, or
it's the external expectations. Yeah, it's the pressure. It's not fun when you're in the gym and your mom or your dad is yelling at you. Coach is saying pass it, and your dad is saying, why aren't you shooting?
Yeah,
that really causes a confusion in a young person. I mean, you know how confused you have to have your dad or mom saying one thing and then the guy or the lady who's giving you playing time saying something different.
Yeah,
that's confusing. It
is.
And who wants to be confused
and stressed?
So instead of being confused and stressed, I just won't play.
Yeah,
it's easier not to play.
So, Arvin, who were some of the people who helped form you?
I have played for 1, 2, 3. I want to say 3 or 4 Hall of Fame coaches. So, my high school football and basketball coaches are both in the Hall of Fame. Jim Clifton and Mike Heward, Brock and Damon's dad. They're both Hall of Fame coaches. My community college coach was in the Hall of Fame, Carl Howell. Greg Sparling at Central Washington will ultimately go into the Hall of Fame at CWU because of his impact and contributions to what he did there. Coach Lee Hill, I worked with at Statesboro High School, who passed away this last year due to COVID. He's a Hall of Fame coach in Georgia. Tim Kelly, who is now the head coach at Curtis High School, who I worked with at Lincoln High School, won multiple state titles at Lincoln High School. He's a Hall of Fame coach. I have been blessed to be around great basketball coaches. And the one thing they all shared was discipline.
Yeah.
The one thing they all shared, discipline. I was telling somebody the other day that, Coach Kelly, we had 2 or 3 kids that didn't play basketball simply because they refused to touch the line. And we all know about touching the line, right? Got to touch the line, man. You go down and back, you got to touch the line. We had 2 or 3 young men that refused to touch the line. They would finish in plenty of time, but they lacked the discipline. They would show up to practice 2 or 3 minutes late. They lacked the discipline. Coach got rid of them.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, I saw that from all the coaches I worked with. Discipline looks different though, right? For Coach Hill, his discipline was doing what you were supposed to do in practice. And he was the only coach I ever worked with that truly rewarded everybody who earned it. Meaning, a lot of times as coaches, we tell kids, hey, you practice hard, you're going to get a chance to play. And then the kid doesn't get to play because the score is too close or it just wasn't right. Coach Hill, his rule was, hey, if you earned playing time, you earned it. You're going to play. And there'd be times you'd look out and he would play everybody who earned playing time in the first half. So if you earned it in practice, you were going to play and you were going to play in the first half. And there were games where we'd have 2 freshmen and a sophomore out there with 2 starters, and they'd play 4 or 5 minutes because they earned it. And then they got in the game and they kept going. And, but he was still a very disciplined coach, and he was still like super organized, everything that you'd want in a coach, but it was a different form of discipline. It was, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but everybody respected him. The kids were on time. They did what they needed to do. They made a mistake. They owned up to it. He was a legendary coach. But that was the one thing I always took away from him is his discipline it felt different than other coaches' discipline, but he still had discipline and
kind of a rewards-based discipline.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, discipline is the one trait I'd say that they all shared. X's and O's. I mean, some of the coaches that I've assisted and worked with were let them play, right? Let them play. And then other coaches were timeout. We got to drop a play. This has got to be perfect and precise. And so, yeah, I've definitely worked with all different kinds, but very, very successful in different ways.
So who was the first person or first coach or parent or uncle or whoever who made you feel great? They believed in you. Who said, I believe in you? Your dad?
My dad, every time the Sonics job opened up after I graduated from college, my dad would tell me, you going to apply? I said, huh? You're going to apply for the Sonics job. They just fired, George Karl, Nate McMillan, Dwayne Casey. You're going to apply? I was like, it doesn't work like that. Oh, you could coach those guys. And he'd go down this long list of reasons why I should be an NBA coach. And he'd convince me sometimes, but man, maybe I should submit my resume.
I bet you could.
Right. But so he was one of he definitely was the very first person in my life to ever tell me that I could.
I imagine. And how, tell me about you as a little kid.
I was always a leader. I was always the guy that I wasn't necessarily like an organizer, like the guy that would go get everybody. But if people were doing stuff they shouldn't be doing, I would be like, hey, come on, guys. Or I still, to this day, I'm like that. I'm in the stands and I'm like, hey, come on, guys. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely, as a youngin', was always just a leader. I wouldn't say I was ultra competitive, but I loved to compete. But I'm not someone like, I didn't always feel like I had to win. Like I would, if Greg and I were playing, let's say, and I'm beating up on Greg, I'd let him score a few so that he wouldn't want, because I value shared competition. And I think too many people feel like you got to destroy your competition or annihilate or kill your competition, not realizing that it's shared competition. And if you don't have that opponent, if you don't have the officials, there is no game. And so I really, at a young age, learned to value that shared competition. You know, and I'm sure as a player, I crossed the line a few times. As a little more physical than I need to be, and but I was a tough guy. That's kind of the way I played. But I did learn that I needed that competition from the other person for us to be successful.
Yeah.
And I was also someone that I always got my stuff done. I never had a problem with that discipline side of just getting my work done. And so I would say those were probably the big traits there, right? I was disciplined as a student, disciplined as an athlete, definitely always been a leader, and I loved to compete. I love the shared competition
And
experience.
I'm guessing at that age, it must have been your parents' influence that instilled those characteristics in you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I grew up watching my dad play modified fast pitch. I don't know if you guys know modified fast pitch, right?
Sure.
But I grew up going to Peck Field and Sarah Field in Tacoma. I would go my tournaments and be the bat boy at modified fast pitch tournaments. My dad grew up at a farm in Mississippi, and so sports wasn't a part of his life. They didn't play sports. They were farming, right? And so so we spent a lot of time, and when he got older, I'd go watch him play modified fast pitch. I'd watch him. We used to hop the fence at one of the junior highs, and they'd play Sunday football, and these guys would all hop the fence and play flag football, just unorganized. Before there was a men's league, they would all show up and pick teams and play. So yeah, I didn't really grow up around sports, but I watched my dad compete, right? And my dad was a business owner, and I watched him go bid jobs and some of the things that he had to deal with as a black man, as a landscaper. And he was a firefighter. My dad was one of the first black firefighters in Tacoma. He was in the first class of black firefighters in Tacoma. Wow. And so I always just kind of had that chip on my shoulder, and he kind of always gave it to me. And I always got to watch, and I was always taught that I had to work twice as hard to get half as much. I was taught that was flat out taught that. And I laugh because I look at my win-loss record sometimes, and it's so bad that I sometimes laugh that maybe I was just an average coach, because I had to be twice as good to get half as much. And I think I was just average because my winning percentage is like in the 20s, right? And so it's like I was probably just an average coach, right? So yeah.
I was given a great quote once, and when I was being, I guess the teacher was telling me what's important about coaching, and there's two sides of it. And he says, it can't just be taught, it's got to be caught. And you could talk and no one catches it, but man, it sounds like you as a kid were you listen and you caught the message.
Yeah.
Because you definitely you're studious by the way you talk about it. I mean,
yeah, no, I spent a lot of years wanting to do this. I mean, I coached my first game as a ninth grader. I coached at my first basketball camp as a ninth grader. And I mean, I literally I had no idea that I would be doing what I do, that I would work. I think I'm on day 6 in a row, and I think I've got about 8 more where every day I have some kind of training. And I never thought that I'd be doing this. I just thought I'd be on a sideline. I thought I would just coach, and then I'd get fired or get a new job or get hired somewhere else, and you'd bounce around and just coach. But I always knew, though, that I wanted to be in the gym and working with kids. Like that was since ninth grade. Like I said, I coached my first real true basketball game in ninth grade.
Did you win or lose there, Arvin?
We won. So the head coach, I was the assistant girls coach at Aylen Junior High, go Falcons. And I was a ninth grader coaching the 8th grade girls as an assistant. And the coach got food poisoning. So the principal rode up on the bus with us to this game. He sat on the bench and he's like, well, you guys know what you're doing, just coach. And so I coached the game and we won. I don't remember what the score was, but we won the game, and the coach came back and, the next game, and he was good. But I literally coached my first game as a ninth grader. I called all the timeouts, did all the everything. And then that summer I started coaching. We called it McDonald's basketball camp. I went to Puyallup High School, I'm a Puyallup grad. And we called it McDonald's basketball camp. We used to have that big jug of high C. So someone would drive over to McDonald's, they'd fill up the big water cooler with that orange high C, with all the sugar that you can imagine, right? And I coached basketball camp. I was a ninth grader, coached my first basketball camp.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things occur to me that are kind of big life concepts. One is that you seem very appreciative of everybody who's helped you.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and I think if you don't live life with gratitude, number one, I don't need to hang out with you, and I don't think you're going to go very far. And so that's important, and you display that obviously. And the other thing is the ability to sort of receive from all these, Hall of Fame coaches, the information and the characteristics that you think contribute to success. And it seems like you've almost created a mosaic of all the best things you've been taught.
Right. I mean, that's what they always tell us, right? Take what what you learn, what you like and what you don't like, and then you put it together. You learn it, and then you decide if you like it or don't like it, and if it adds value. One of my first coaches that I played for, and then I assisted with, and then I ultimately replaced, was a shorter, older white guy, and he yelled and screamed and stomped his feet. So when I coached, I was like, well, I'm going to yell and scream and stomp my feet. Yeah, but I'm 6'3", 250-pound, young. At that time, I was a 26-year-old young black head coach, and it wasn't received the same way.
Yeah. And
I had to learn that the hard way, that right away, that I'm not 5'10", 50-year-old white guy. I'm 6'3", 250-year-old black guy, 26-year-old black guy. And so I had to adjust. I got technical fouls. Boom, boom, boom. I was getting, and it wasn't big. And they're like, well, you're being aggressive. And I was like, I'm just yelling at you guys. I don't want to fight you. But that was the mentality that I thought that's how it went. Yeah. And so I had to learn. Yeah. And so you're constantly learning, and then you have to learn what works for you, because we are all so different, and we're received differently. We're received differently. Right. Yeah. So not only you and all three of us can walk into a room and say hi, and people might receive it differently.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn that, right? And unfortunately, that's the world we live in, but you learn it and then you adjust accordingly.
That's a great skill. I see that a lot of times. I watch trainers and I said, that kid's not tracking, right? I think you have to be aware enough and be able to communicate like you obviously are, because if you're not able to read your clientele, your kids, whether they're responding to you or not, sometimes you're wasting time because they're not getting it. You seem to be pretty self-aware, and I bet you pick up on these kids, each one, how to get through to them.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely try. And I think some of the kids I work with are so young and so new. Like on Tuesday night, I mean, we trained probably 40 kids over 2 sessions, and I'd say 7 to 8 of them have never played basketball, never played before. Like, my class was their first experience. So they don't necessarily know how to learn it, right? They haven't even learned their own learning styles. So it's like I'm poking and prodding and trying to figure out how to teach to a kid that doesn't even know how to receive it necessarily yet. And so it is I don't know if the game is the right word, but it's a fun game to play, to walk into a gym with 20 kids, don't know any of them. And then over the next 4 or 5 weeks, I got to figure out how to talk to them and how to teach it to them. So it keeps me fresh. It keeps me young. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that definitely, you can't be an old fuddy-duddy stuck in, stick in the mud coaching a 7-year-old kid in 2021. That ain't going to work. It's just not, man. You better adjust.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you also view what you do as a massive responsibility. You may have more impact on these kids than their parents.
Some of them. Yeah. Yeah. And over the years, I've had parents reach out to me and say, hey, can you talk to my son about staying out too late? Like, but he lives with you, right? But yeah, they do. And I have parents that bring their kids, because I had a mom tell me on Tuesday, she said that, when he listens to you more than anybody else. And she's just awesome. And I was like, yeah, but I'm probably the only one that makes him do push-ups when he doesn't listen. I was like, if you tried push-ups, right?
Yeah.
But I've done 150 push-ups in a day before, because I always do it with them, right? Very rarely will I say, okay, you guys are in trouble, so you guys have push-ups. I say, hey, we're walking, we all have push-ups. Hey, we're not listening, we have push-ups. And so, I've had a couple of days where I've literally done 150 push-ups, and I'm not in that kind of shape, man.
I mean, that's a lesson right there. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen a coach say, hey, we're this big team, not only you guys, but me too. Let's do push-ups. That's impressive, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, great, Rob.
And just reminds me of the funniest, it may not have much to do with any of this, but my son Jake was playing on a travel team. It was actually the same organization Mike Trout played in, the Tri-State in Jersey. So they had this old white coach who they called Pops, but he was a pretty cool guy. And he just kind of sat on his stool and was watching the game. And at one point, somebody hit a foul ball that went onto the adjacent field and nobody moved to go get it. So he goes, everybody stand up. They all stand up. He goes, hold hands. They all had to hold hands. He goes, now sprint and go get that ball. And they, as a chain gang, had to sprint. And go. I mean, that was the greatest thing I've ever seen. And you know what? Next time a ball went back there, 3 guys got up to go get it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, collective responsibility is one way to encourage individual responsibility.
Yeah.
Right. If we do it, if we all do it, then you might be more inclined to check yourself to do the things that you need to do.
I don't think there's any question that's true.
Yeah, I love it.
It seems so simple, but it also seems like you're the exception.
Yeah, sometimes, I do feel like it sometimes. I feel really lucky that this is all that I do. So there was a time where I had to work all day and then go to the gym, and I wasn't able to always be functioning at the high level mentally and physically that I want. But now, because this is all I do, I get to spend my day kind of mentally getting prepared to deal with some really tough kids for an hour or two. And I have some really, really tough kids. There's no question about it. We've even talked about having an adaptive class because we do get some kids with autism and different physical challenges and learning challenges and stuff. But they know that they can come to my class and we'll find a spot for them. Like we'll find somewhere to get them in, right? We just do. Yeah. So, but I am lucky that I don't have to go and do 10, I seen a friend of mine the other day, session number 9. I can't do 9 sessions in a day. I mean, it's just, my body can't take it. But I'm really good at 3 or 4 sessions in a day with the group, with 10, 15, 20 kids in each one. I'm awesome at that. Yeah. So I'm kind of lucky that I'm able to really frame myself the right way so that when I walk into that room, my patience is at its peak. And I also know it's only an hour. And I've told people, I said, hey, for an hour, I could do just about anything for an hour. I mean, you can give me the worst basketball player, the meanest, orneriest little kid in the whole wide world, but for an hour, right? That's quick, you know? So that's how I frame it. I know it might not work for everybody, but for me, it's only an hour. So yeah, I mean, you and I, we've all done some pretty terrible things in an hour, like tough jobs and stuff for an hour. So what is, what is working with an 8-year-old? And the other thing that I think we forget is I've yet to meet an 8 or 9 or someone younger who's doing it on purpose, who's being disrespectful because they don't like you, who's being lazy because they don't like you. They're 8. They haven't created these pathways yet. And it's up to us to not be offended by it, hold them accountable, remind them as many times as needed. And what I found is that over the course of 5 weeks, like tonight is my last session. This is week 5 of a group. When I walk in the gym, when I blow that whistle, every one of those kids will grab their ball and sprint to the middle. It just, because that's the expectation that we set.
I mean, listen, man, I would pay to see that. I mean, really, because I think I don't know if we coddle our kids, but we just don't ask enough of them. We don't demand their accountability, even though they're kids. We think, they can't handle it. They can handle it better than a lot of adults. When I was in Russia, I was shooting schools in Russia. And number one, there's one dance teacher, even though I speak like 10 words of Russian, but I watched this guy and I had him on camera and I watched the kids regard him. And I mean, he was the ultimate loved and feared teacher. And I could tell because the kids would sort of be clowning around when it was downtime. But as soon as he went like that or stomped the floor, when he stomped the floor, the room shook and they went to attention. And I mean, I had never seen that kind of discipline from 10-year-old kids ever.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it, it was kind of fear because they didn't want them pissed off. I know that.
Right.
But they also just loved being part of this whole thing.
Yep.
And he was the greatest teacher I've ever watched.
Awesome.
And I found out years later when I had a picture of him with me, I was getting it framed or something. And a woman from like Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia or something was like, "Is that Oleg Pavlov?" I was like, "Well, yeah." And apparently he was, great before he became a teacher. So yeah, he was fantastic. And, a great teacher just has an enormous impact.
Yeah, I think boundaries and discipline are crucial. We all want them. All of us want to know what our boundaries are, and all of us wanting to have a certain level of discipline. And I know as a parent, right? I've got 3 kids and a grandbaby. I sometimes, my kids ask, can I have a fruit snack? No. Can I have a fruit roll up? No. Can I have a fruit snack? No. Can I have a fruit snack? Yes. Right? Because after a while, you're like, fine, just have one. And I think sometimes we do, as parents, we get caught up in that. Whereas for me as a coach, as a basketball trainer, I don't get caught up in that. I only have 1 hour.
Yeah.
Can we do this? No. Can we do that? No.
Yeah.
And so for me to hold that line for an hour.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it sound like it's easy, but it's kind of easy. I mean, I've gotten good at it now, right? So it's kind of easy, and I hope that doesn't sound cocky, but it's kind of easy for me for an hour to just hold the line. I hold that line. No leeway, no nothing. But when I do that, let's say over 5 weeks, the first hour, I'm mean and grouchy. And, that's how we have to start, right? You start hard. And then by week 5, like today, man, I'm going to blow the whistle. They're going to sprint. We're going to talk. We're going to do our share, our bricks and swishes. They're going to get in the line, warm up. They'll be playing 1-on-1 and 3-on-3 in no time. And it'll just be a real safe and fun and healthy learning environment.
Yeah. That was the greatest coaching advice I ever got. I'd coached high school baseball and tennis and we did well. But a friend of mine who was an established lacrosse coach told me exactly that. He goes, "You can start out tough and big and bad and then loosen up, but you can't start out loose and then toughen up." And that was absolutely the best advice I ever got, coaching wise.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
I want to change direction here for a second because I look at you, hey man, I know you're a passionate coach. I know you're a great teacher on that, but I think you're more than I think you're passionate from what I've seen, and you got me involved in things. I think you're passionate for human development, kids outside of basketball. Talk about more about some of those programs that, one you connect me with. I think you're just all around passionate about coaching and teaching kids at all, whether it's sports or not.
Yeah, no, thank you. So I spoke to a junior high. I went last week, and I told them, I said, I'm here very selfishly. And they kind of looked at me. I was like, I'm here for me. Now you guys are going to benefit, but I'm here for me. And they look, well, what do you mean? Well, because one of you is going to be a principal or a teacher or a policeman or a firefighter, and you're going to interact with me, or you're going to interact with my kids. So very selfishly, I want to do right by you, so that when you're in the world and you have a chance to do right by somebody else, you do it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm big on that, right? And so that's just, I do some of the mental health training that I do, and the mindset performance training that we do. And over, what we're finding is a deep breath. Like, I asked these kids the other day, so what do you do for your mindset? What do you do for your mental health? And, music, I draw, cool. And one kid said, why breathe? And a couple people were like, yeah. And I said, and do you understand the science behind that? We got into a good conversation about breathing and just the ability to just take a moment and breathe. So, Greg, I'm big on the mindset and the mental health, the mental performance, but it's hard to move into performance if you don't have the health, right? So we got to have good mental health, strong mental health before we can even start to worry about performance, right? It's like foundational. And so, so I think I kind of got maybe lost in the sauce on your question, but
no, I think that's great, man, because I'm with you. I mean, hey, you're dealing with young kids. There's a lot of issues out there in life right now. They're exposed to a lot of crap and a lot to take on and stressed and all this other stuff. But I think well, I'm belong to a big foundation called the John W. Brick Foundation for Mental Health. And, the studies show that kids, they got a lot of issues. I mean, my own kid, anxiety, it's like mental health is huge. And if they're not mentally okay, physically or mentally, they're not going to be playing sports.
And it starts with us, right? And I was guilty a few times. I've had to learn when's the best time to correct my kids. So I wake up, I'm fired up. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 in the morning. I'm fired up. My son hasn't done this. He hasn't done that. And I'm rattling his cage. And then I drive him to school and drop him off. What kind of performance is he going to have at school after dad just rattled his cage for the last 15 minutes about his room being messy or his hair not being combed? And so I've had to, it's internal. I think we all got to start with ourselves. So I had to learn, okay, yes, I'm fired up. Can we fix this before school? No. Okay. Let's hang on to it. And let's find a time that doesn't, disrupt his whole day. But we see it. I mean, I see it in with kids and their parents, the way the parents will talk to their kid and then drop them off at basketball. Well, you should have did this and da. Now go in there and go train with Coach Mosley. Like you're setting your kids up for failure sometimes. So I think as parents, we really have to pick our spots in terms of how we're going to, not how, but when we're going to correct our kids. And then how intense do you want to be right before you drop them off at school or right before you take them to practice? You're going to get mad because they didn't do all their homework and then you drop them off at practice. Well, what kind of mindset do they take into the gym with them now?
On the other hand,
you're right now. I just had flashbacks from like the last 2 days. I'm just thinking about that in my head with my son Austin. His room is messy. I got him. Hey, man, you might have to come over and coach me up a little bit.
Hey, Coach. I mean, you're also the perfect antidote. When a parent says, "Listen, when you get home, you do this, you do that, or you don't get this," and now get in there and work hard with Coach Mosley. He's probably like, "Thank God, let me out of here."
Yeah. I have some of those. I know there's some kids that come to the gym. They know it's a respite from the rest of their life. They get to come have some fun with us. So
yeah,
no, definitely.
That's a good thing to be.
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, like I said, I really feel really fortunate that I'm able to carve out this niche and just I get to serve, man. I serve this, we will serve close to 250 kids this week.
Yeah.
So from Monday to Monday, we will serve close to 250 kids.
Yeah. I mean, that is such a common trait among these 3P champions that Greg and I have spoken with. Everybody, virtually every single one of them at some point says, I'm a server. I'm serving. And God bless all of you, because somebody's got to help our kids. Now I'm working with my brother on this. It's called Sharegiver Solutions, and he's caring for his wife who's got early onset Alzheimer's, and it's awful. And so he's trying to help other people in that situation, family members who have no training, no preparation. But the biggest thing, number one thing he talks about is mindset. And we hear a lot about mindset. Everything is mindset. And in his case, it's developing a stoic response. You're in a shitty situation, but what are you going to do? Crumble or succeed? And what does success mean? And how resilient are you going to be? What is your concept of mindset, and what are you trying to instill in kids?
Well, the mind is a muscle, and if you work it out, you can get stronger, right? You can create stronger pathways, neural pathways that are going to get you to where you want to get. I always talk to kids that we have over 50,000 thoughts a day. 80% of our thoughts are negative, and which. Again, think about social media. If you open up your Facebook feed right now, you're going to get some negativity fairly quickly. You turn on the news, no one ever says, "Hey, so-and-so won the lottery," or "Hey, 14 kids were born today at the hospital." We don't get that. We get the negative. And so we just talk a ton about your mindset. It's a muscle. You can build it. And I've created a couple of different ways that I build my strength every day. When I wake up, I have my morning routine that helps me build my mindset. But I think the kids have to understand that they're in control of it. Let me give you some acronyms. I'm here. I love acronyms. Good. So I tell people this: The universe is huge, but you are in control of your earth. You are in control of your earth, your effort, your attitude, your response, your thoughts, and your habits, right? And so everything else is out of our control. The universe is huge. It's phenomenal. It goes on forever. But your effort, what kind of effort are you going to put in? We talk about Yoda, do or do not. There is no try. I don't like to hear kids say, I'm going to try that. Or I think I'll try it, because try insinuates that you got 1 foot in and 1 foot out, right? So effort, what kind of effort are you going to bring? A is your attitude. What attitude are you going to bring? You're going to find what you're looking for, right? If you think that this person is being racist or sexist, you're probably going to find that. If you think this person doesn't like you, you'll probably find that. So effort, attitude, response. We talked about the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting, you touch a hot stove, boom, you react, it's hot. But you walk into an environment that's a little bit hot, you have a moment to choose how you want to respond to this moment, right? What happens, a referee makes a bad call, we all react. And if you notice, you watch some of these better NBA players, they know that the ref's going to make the call, he's going to go report it, and then they go stand where the ref's going to go stand, and they go talk to him. They're going to respond to it. Your thoughts. So the T is thoughts, right? You control your thoughts. The number one way to build or destroy self-confidence is your self-talk. That's the number one way to build it or destroy it. And we've all been guilty of, I suck at math. I'm terrible with numbers. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Self-talk. And then when you tell yourself, I'm bad at math, then what do? You don't study on as much. And then the result is you get a bad grade. And then you go, see, I told you. And then it becomes this vicious self-talk cycle. So we talk a lot about self-talk. The two voices, you got me going here. So the two voices that you have in your head, you have the champion voice and the critic voice, or the two wolves that live inside you. And people always say, well, what wolf wins? The one you feed. And the critic voice says, you are terrible at math. You suck at this. You're bad at that. The critic voice points a finger and says, you. The champion says, I am smart. I am talented. I am gifted. I am good at numbers. So effort, attitude, response, thoughts, and then your habits. Where we are, gentlemen, the three of us, where we are today is a product of our habits. We can say that, well, my family didn't have this or my family did have that. Absolutely. Those are circumstances, though. You can't change the circumstances. But ultimately, where we are today, we're a product of our habits. And so when it comes to mindset, I really try to get young people to understand, to control their earth, control your earth. Once you start to dominate your earth, the other stuff either falls into place or doesn't matter. So everything's either going to fall into place or it doesn't matter, but you can only control your earth. So that's kind of my approach when it comes to mindset. I spend a lot of time with that. I have a few ways to practice. I try to teach young people how to practice. So I don't want to just tell them facts without say, here's how you practice these things. And so I got another acronym. Want another acronym?
Sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Preach, man.
So,
I'm writing them down too.
Okay, cool. And so the other one, kind of one of the big philosophies that I teach is bringing your A game every day, your A game. Yeah. You got to bring your A game every day. And the A stands for action. Whatever's important to you, you have to act on it. Okay. Whatever you love, whatever you think is valuable to you, you have to act on it. The G stands for gratitude. You mentioned that earlier, Rob. It's about gratitude, right? Yeah. So every day you should take some time to just give thanks for what you do have. Again, focus on what you do have, not what you don't. Yeah. The other A is for affirmations. That's the I am. I am smart. I am talented. I'm gifted. I am enough. That's one of my favorites. I am enough. The M is for mindfulness. Just taking a moment every day to be mindful. It can be meditation. It can be whatever form of practice you like to use. And then the E is exercise. Every day, you got to exercise your mind. You got to exercise your body. So A game, action, gratitude, affirmations, mindfulness, and exercise.
Man, I love your acronyms.
I do too, man. I'm telling you, I do this podcast with my brother. Number one, I may call on you to speak to caregivers who are, lost in the swamp.
Right.
But short of having you on there, I'm gonna talk about this stuff. because mindset is everything. If you don't have a strong mindset, you ain't going to make it.
Yep. But the good thing is you can strengthen your mindset. But
yeah, I've never heard it referred to as a muscle.
That's the good thing, though. And I think that's sometimes where we forget, well, I'm not, he's weak-minded, and sometimes as coaches, and we give up on a guy. No, he just needs some practice. He just needs to practice building the mindset muscle.
How do you do that?
Well, one way would be, the first thing I started doing was taking cold showers. I said, you know what? I'm going to turn the water cold, and I'm going to see how long I can tough it out. So that was my first, because I'm an old school tough guy. Like, we were tough, so I'm a physical. First was physical. How many, I did planks. How long can I hold a plank? Like I did wall sits. I'm 45 years old doing wall sits, right? But I'm trying to, because I'm physical. So for me, I said, how do I do that? That's how I started. Then I started realizing that a lot of it is mindset is actually focused, concerted energy on something or a task or a thought or whatever. So I started meditating and again, I would just breathe, just in and out. And so once I started doing that, then I found that, okay, now I'm present. Now I'm where my feet are, right? I'm not worried about tomorrow or yesterday. I'm right where my feet are. So then I became more present. And then at that moment, I can start to build. And I think what happens is we walk in, we inundate kids and people with all this info and stuff, and they don't ever have a moment to let's just come back to where we are right now, and let's focus on this moment. So one, I would say, is encourage whoever you are working with, like finding a way for them to just sit and breathe a little bit. And it doesn't mean that you're devoid of thought. It doesn't mean that you don't have thoughts. It just means that you don't focus too long on any one thought, right? The thoughts are going to come and go, but we want to find a way. We think about them as bubbles, right? You have these bubbles and you focus on a bubble and it gets bigger and bigger. And next thing you know, you've got this big thought bubble that might be a problem but then if you let that bubble go, more are going to come. Then eventually you kind of start to focus in a little bit. So I would say breathing is the first thing I would teach. I would just teach people, just sit and don't worry about what they think about. Don't worry about just learning how to, I use 6-2-8. So 6 seconds in, hold it for 2, release it for 8. What happens if you go, some people like to keep it even, but what happens if you keep it even is you don't get full in or fully out. So from a pure physiological standpoint, 6 seconds on an inhale, hold it for 2, exhale for 8. That's I can't remember the exact name that they call that, but that's the type of breathing that I do. You do the math, it takes about 4 of those in a minute. So I will find myself in a situation like I'm at a stoplight and I'm in a hurry, and that, your whole life is ruined because of this one stoplight. Like everything is screwed up because of one stoplight. And and I take that moment. And again, I'm not a monk. I'm not I don't practice like hours and hours on end, but I can go really good for a minute. I can sit on a basketball court with chaos and kids and balls going everywhere. And I know that in 1 minute, nothing's going to happen. I'll just breathe.
Wow.
And it really reminds me to come back to where I am. And I'm a firm believer too, that laundry and dishes and unmowed grass will still be there when you come back to it. So why worry about it? Like laundry has never cheated on anybody. Like your front yard is still is the most loyal piece of land in the world. If that grass doesn't get mowed today or tomorrow, it'll be there for you, man. And so I kind of start to take that philosophy of like that, it's okay. Those problems are still there. They're going to still be there. So why not? Let me just get back to where I am right now, be where my feet are, be present, be authentic in this moment.
So, you're a great guy to talk to about it. My one question that's been nagging at me forever, mostly because I've worked with people in terribly debilitating situations, quadruple amputees, the worst situation. And they tell me how good life is. By and large, most of them tell me life is good. Wow. And I've asked theologians, I've asked a lot of people how you get people who have every reason to be grateful, but are miserable to be grateful. You talk about looking at the stuff you do have instead of lamenting what you don't have. How do you get people to do it?
Yeah, I mean, if it's a one-on-one case, we're going to maybe just sit down and just draw a list of things that you're thankful for. Like literally just draw a line down the middle. What are you thankful for? Right. And then what sucks? And then we go back to our earth. Well, what of these things, what do you control? Like, what do you control? The bill collector? You don't really control that. Okay. So let's put it in its proper context. It doesn't mean it's not going to go away, but how much time and energy can you spend on a bill that you can't afford? And again, that's the extreme. So then what can we control? Right. Well, I love my kids. Okay. So what are you doing to spend more time with your kids, or how are you building that relationship? How are you deepening the bonds between you and your children? Right. And so it's really, to me, it's about what you focus on. I just, you know, what you focus on, you find, you know, and we've all been around people. It's funny you said that. So I had this just gentleman that worked for my dad. My dad was a landscaper, and this guy worked for my dad, and he had, throughout his life, he had different kind of addictions that he battled. And I saw him probably about 4 years ago, walking up along the street up here with a walker and not doing too good. And I stopped at the corner store and I said, "Hey man, do you remember me?" He's like, "Oh yes, yeah, I know you, of course." You know, I was like, "Hey, you want a cup of coffee? Can I buy you a cup of coffee?" Right? You know, I didn't want to force it on him. I was like, "Can I buy you a cup of coffee?" "Sure, I'll take a cup of coffee." And we sat, and he's just smiling and so happy. And I couldn't, and I walked away. How does this man so happy? It's raining. So I asked him before I left, "Hey, you need anything else? You need a coat or anything I can do for you?" He said, "Yeah, I'd love, you have a winter coat or something? That'd be cool." So the next day I saw him, I got him a coat, and he's just smiling and smiling. And he just was so thankful to be able to just to be, right? Just to be. Now, if the rest of us would be upset that we were wet and cold and walking with a walker up and down the street, and he just found a way to just be so thank you for this, right? And again, it comes back to what you focus on. And he wasn't focusing on the stuff that I was focused on. He's poor, he's in a walker, he's cold, he's wet. He was focusing on, man, it was good to see you. The coffee, that was some good coffee. It's corner gas station coffee, but to him it was good coffee. And it's how we have that internal dialogue. Yeah. Right. We quit saying we love to minimize what we have. "Oh, you like those shoes? Oh, I got those on sale." Or, "Oh, you know, you like that? Oh, that's whatever," you know, instead of like really starting to embrace what we have, like really enjoy it. And so I'm just trying to enjoy what I do have. I just, and it doesn't mean that the other stuff isn't there. It doesn't mean it's not there, but I'll give it, you know, my bills will be there on the 1st when they're due. So why spend the other 29 or 30 days caught up in that moment, right? And again, I know it's easier said than done, and I've had a lot of practice, but yeah, so that's kind of my thought.
Rob, we talk a lot about this word, and the more you talk,
I know what you're going to say. Maybe not, but I know what I'm going to say.
You say yours first.
Uplift.
Empathy. Oh yeah, okay, uplift. I was just say empathy, which is the same thing. It's like you have the ability to, you know, we talk about all the time how we just see lack of empathy. Our politics, people just like don't give a shit, selfish, where you just, you know, you have empathy. And I think that's so important because, hey man, we need to love, you know what I mean? If you can't see somebody else, you're empathetic, man.
No, you are. And uplift to me is kind of the same thing. That's what you're providing, which is, again, the most valuable thing you can give anybody. I don't care who they are, how great they think they are, how bad they think they're doing, whatever. Give them an uplift to make their day, and they'll never forget you. And before I forget, you're going to be one of those guys that this whole population of kids, someday when somebody asks, "Who impacted you?" it's going to be you. You're going to be the guy that impacted these people when they're grown-ups.
I'm already feeling the impact now.
Yeah, same.
You're special, Arvin. You're special, man.
I think you're a pretty inspirational guy. And, you know, your acronyms and sort of, you know, they kind of roll off because you've practiced them and they're in you, but they are really valuable pieces of knowledge.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I was kind of piggyback on what you guys are saying. I think sometimes we have more empathy and patience with other people than we do with ourselves. And I think that's part of our mindset problem. We give other people grace. I bet people let's take John Gruden, right? For now, there's probably more people that are giving him more grace than they do themselves. There are people who look at him and say, he just made a mistake. Okay, cool. But if they were to do it, they would be beating themselves up. They would be so frustrated with themselves. And I think sometimes we have a tendency to give more grace and empathy and uplift other people. And then to ourselves, we're so hard on ourselves and we don't give ourselves that same grace back.
That's a really important lesson too.
And that took me a long time. And that's where I had to, just to surround myself with the right kind of people, right? People like Greg and I hop on the phone with my buddy just to give him a compliment, right? Like just, hey man, I saw what you did. That's awesome. And, but we don't do that enough. I don't think sometimes, especially as we have to remind ourselves to go give our friends some love and support the people that are closest to us that way.
Yeah. It's the Maya Angelou quote about people don't care what you said or what you did. It's how they felt when they were with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another thing that jumps in my mind about you, it's, I deal a lot with leadership like you do. And I remember somebody saying, hey, Greg, quit trying to be a leader. You got to learn to follow first, man, because you don't have the lessons yet. And so I think about that with you. And I also think about this, is that as much as you teach, you seem to have a hunger for knowledge, and you're 100% student. I mean, what's your education background? Because
I was going to ask that too.
Constant, never-ending improvement. That's why I look at you as.
I'm guessing you were a very good student.
I was lucky. I don't know. When I was in high school, I was one of those guys that would get all my homework done in class. And then I'd come home and my dad would be like, well, where's your homework? I'm like, I already did it. He's like, you did it before practice? I guess you could say that, Dad. And then my grades would come in and he never had a problem with it because I was a good student. I got a master's degree in health and kinesiology, bachelor's in English, language and literature. It's funny because people always tease me like, what are you going to do with a degree in English? I was like, well, my resume is going to be nicer than yours, right? Like, but then here I am, an author and I present and I write stuff all the time. And so and then a master's in science. So I have a bachelor of arts and a master of science. And they normally wouldn't accept me. They said, when I went to apply, they were like, we don't take that. You want a master's in science? You have a degree in English, dude. Have you ever taken kinesiology? Nope. Have you ever taken anatomy and physiology? Nope. I said, but I know vocabulary. And I said, you give me a word, I can break a word down, the etymology of a word, and make it happen. And so, but I did, like my first few classes in graduate school, and they were talking about quadriceps. I mean, I knew quad meant four. I knew where it was. Let's go, and so I had a lot of catching up to do, but that is my background. And, I was talking to one of my buddies the other night. I kind of nerd out every once in a while. Like last weekend, I took an online free class on YouTube, and I studied Adobe Illustrator because I wanted to know Adobe Illustrator. So I literally was up till like 11 o'clock on Friday night, woke up Saturday morning, did a little bit more, spent Saturday afternoon on it, Sunday. And then by Monday, it took me like 10 hours to finish this 3-hour video because I kept rewinding it and prep. But I'm not an expert by any means, but it's like, I understand a little bit about Adobe Illustrator, and I'm going to go work on it and play with it. And don't be surprised if you see a digital picture that I created just because. So yeah, Rob, I am a lifelong student, man. And there is too much information out there for us to be dumb, right? There is too much info out there for us not to just find something and have fun.
That reminds me, I ran into Charles Barkley. I was with my kids. We saw Barkley at a local place. He lives near here. And I brought Sammy over, my younger kid, he was a chunk monkey at the time. And I told Chuck that we were, modeling his game after his. And Barkley says, he goes, what school do you go to? And my son goes, Kidwood Elementary. And he goes, well, read a lot of books because we got enough dumb people in the world. He also said, get a lot of rebounds. You make a lot of money getting rebounds.
Yep.
Those are the two pieces of advice Barkley gave him.
Perfect. Read your books, man. Study and block out. So I don't know if you saw this, Greg. I posted on Facebook last week. So my son's playing 6th grade basketball, and he's doing a pretty good job. And my kids were in another room talking, and my son says, my younger son, who's 9, looks at his brother and says, if you'd block out, you'd probably play on varsity. And they had a big old conversation. I'm laughing like,
wow.
If you rebound,
that's not your standard kids talking about basketball.
No, totally.
Shoot the threes, shoot threes.
But Rob, hey, if you rebound, there's a spot for you, man.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Rebound, there's a spot
well,
for you.
He kind of took it to heart. And like what's happening with him right now, and Greg knows, he's a freshman at Bucknell, and he got put on the guys' team that's practicing against the girls' team.
Oh, okay, cool.
Bucknell women.
Yeah.
He's going to practice 3-4 times a week playing against the women.
Yep,
and
has he fallen in love yet?
He hadn't told me about it if he has. But yeah, I mean, he's loving life right now. But he did learn how to put his butt in the gut, clear some space, and get some putbacks. I said, that's where it's at for you, putbacks, man. But he's blocking girls' shots and feeling good about it. He's having a great time. But yeah, rebounding.
Good for him.
Yep. What else you want to talk about? Because you are one interesting guy.
I mean, you tell me what else. I mean, I'm trying to think what else. I don't know. We've covered so much.
We have, and it's been fantastic. Really, I got to go back and watch it again just to remind myself of all the things you said. And
I got to write down those acronyms over, man.
I'm going to invoke.
I got attitude, response.
Your ears are going to be ringing because I'm going to be telling people about you and invoking some of the stuff you said, even on the podcast, because, the tougher a situation, the more critical your mindset.
Yep, absolutely.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Rob.
Nuh-uh.
Well, I was just going to say that what happens too often, a good friend of mine, Colin Henderson, one of my mentors, and he talks about that we're negligent right now. A lot of us as adults and as coaches and teachers are negligent because we're not focusing on mindset until a problem occurs. We wait until a kid misses 2 free throws and chokes. Then we talk to him like, you got to toughen up. We wait until a kid has a stressful test coming up in school and they don't do well to talk about that. We're being negligent by not making this a part of our everyday conversation. Where, and again, to talk about my kid, just because I'm seeing it in action, which is cool. And I don't like to brag a lot about my kids. I don't want them to feel pressure, but at the same time, we're parents. We like to brag a little.
Sure.
So my son, because I haven't been able to watch all of his games because I train at 6 o'clock and they play varsity. The 8th graders play varsity, and then the 6th graders play JV afterwards. And so I'm missing the end of his games. And so the other day, they're up 1 or 2, and he steps up to the free throw line. He gets fouled, and it's like, and kids don't make free throws in 6th grade. They just don't.
Yeah.
And so he gets fouled, and his coach calls a timeout. His coach calls the timeout. So it's a 1-and-1, 2-point game with 8 seconds to go. And his coach calls a timeout. The coach says, hey, just, get composed. And so I find all this out later. My son, I said, so what did you do when coach called a timeout? Oh, I just focused on the outcome that I wanted, and I just was breathing.
Wow.
I love it.
Oh, is that a mini me?
Hold on. He hit them both. They win by 4.
I'll bet he did. That's fantastic. That really is.
He's like, I focused on the outcome I wanted, Dad. And I was like, okay.
Hey, man, that's proof in the pudding right there.
He hit them both. So
and I would say the other side of that, had he not, he still probably would have had a healthier response than a lot of other kids.
That healthy response is the big thing, right? That because we know we're going to face adversity. We know we're going to fail. We know we're going to lose. All these things, we know they're going to happen. So then what's your failure response, right? I mean, I think that as much as anything is valuable. And we see that with people who win a lot and then don't know how to react when they lose. We see that all the time with people who've been at the top, they get knocked down and then they can't get back up to where they were because they haven't developed that failure response.
Yeah. I've coached more baseball than basketball or anything else. And I've told a lot of kids, Hall of Famers failed 2 out of 3 times.
Yeah. Baseball.
I think it's more important to learn that as a kid because forget basketball on the football field. in life, if you've dealt with failure and shit happens in your life that, a girlfriend, a death, something bad, their lives are ruined. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? How about just the internet having kids, destroy you? And then that's a type of failure, like your self-confidence or whatever. Maybe it's not true. I've seen kids destroyed by that.
Yeah.
Because they haven't built that toughness up or understanding. So, man, failure, you need to
Well,
learn that quick, I think.
Yeah. And I think, again, another concept we talk about a lot, which I think is at play in all of this, is belief. So, my son, who I still believe was the best point guard in his school, got cut by the coach because another coach said the guy just didn't like him. And I never knew anybody that didn't like him, but he got cut. And at the time, I was more crushed than he was, because baseball is his passion, even though he was a sensational basketball player. But, I told him that growing up for me, if my dad thought I was okay and I thought I was okay, I really didn't give a crap what anybody else told me. They said I wasn't good enough. It didn't mean anything to me. It might piss me off and it might hurt me because I couldn't do what I wanted to do, but it didn't make me believe I wasn't good enough. I had the belief because my dad believed, and so I believed. And I think when a coach, and yourself more than anybody, both you guys are passionate about letting kids know you believe in them. And that's a powerful thing for a kid.
They need that. I worked with a group, I was on their advisory board called Kids at Hope. And they talk about each young person, if the more aces that they have in their life, the more successful they're going to be. And aces were, mom and dad were the ace of hearts, right? Then your coach was like the ace of diamonds. Your teachers were like the ace of spades. And then the peripheral people, your uncles, maybe the bus driver was like the ace of clubs, right? And the more aces that kids had in their life, the more successful they are typically going to be. And it took me a while to understand that, because sometimes you take it for granted that your dad is there. Like my dad has been there my whole life. Even though I lived with my mom, my dad was just always there. And but then when I coached a lot of these young men that I coached in some of these inner city schools where they had no father figure, and for some of them I might have been the only guy that they thought was kind of cool, and then I yelled at them to touch the line, and it was really weird for them. It was a struggle because they thought I liked him, and then he yelled at me because I didn't touch the line. Like, I do like you, but you got to touch the line, man. Like that's basketball. And so so you're right, Rob, you're totally right about having your father and giving that strength. And I just want to make sure I acknowledge that I was too, but then I also worked with a lot of young men that didn't have that.
Yeah.
And that was the battle that I really had to learn as I grew as a coach. Like I really had to learn, like, why are these guys responding to me like this? Yeah. And then you start to dig in. Well, some of them have never had a male figure in their life that they cared about or respected what they said about them. And here I am, the one guy in their life that they kind of like, kind of respect, but then I'm not letting them play because they skipped class. Well, he doesn't like me. And Coach Mosley, no, I'm just holding you accountable, teaching you discipline. And so, but you're right though, that for me, nobody really could tell me how bad my confidence never suffered, because I had my dad at my back. He had my back. Yeah.
So I told my kid the same thing. I know what you got and you know what you got. So what do I care about what this guy says? How do you define success?
Man, leaving no stones unturned to get where to kind of maximize that talent of yours, right? I mean, I think it looks different. It manifests itself differently. But like for me, I feel successful. I'm wealthy as hell, man. My kids are in the other room doing their online learning right now. They're in there right now learning. And I got to work out here in a few minutes. I'm going to go to the gym and work out one of my former players' sons.
Man.
And then this afternoon, I've got a gym full of kids. And so I think part of it is being able to do what you love. But part of it is also like trying to tap into the talent that's within us, and every day I feel like I kind of discover a little bit more that I'm like, damn, I wish I'd have knew that before, but I'm learning it now. And then like, damn, I wish I knew that. And so to me, just success is really trying to get what you got, what God gave you, man. Like just really trying to uncover it. Like we're all diamonds in the rough. I think all of us are to some degree, and we just got to kind of shape the edges a little bit. And then for me, success also is the give back. Like you can't be successful if you're not. I always talk about serving others. Like when I ask young people, I always, instead of saying, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? What kind of job do you want to have? I say, who do you want to serve? Huh? I said, who do you want to serve? If you didn't have to worry about work and money, like work meaning money, if you didn't have to worry about money and your bills were paid, who would you help? Who would you serve? And I try to get kids to think about it like that, because if you know who you want to serve, then I think money will follow. And I think success is if you're serving who you want to serve, I think that's kind of successful, right? And so, yeah, that's a long-winded way, but that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah. That seems to
Arvin, when we started this thing, me and Rob were talking about life and technology and kids and development, and we both came to the agreement there's just not enough mentors out there, and I believe this more than ever because things move so fast. You need a mentor on the floor, you need a mentor at home, you need a mentor for your finances, you need a mentor for everything. So I just see you as such a great mentor. I think every kid should have a guy like you for everything he does in life. And so I think one of the things I try to do is drive kids to think about, find yourself a mentor. Find somebody you look up to that's done what you're trying to do, because it's challenging, man, and you're not going to do it on your own. But I don't hear we started calling Coach Dale Brown. We didn't even plan to do a documentary project. It was like because he was such an amazing mentor. And I tell this story all the time, man. We hung up, okay, so we did a Zoom call, and me and Rob were like this, and Coach didn't want to do the visual, so he was doing audio. We hung up that phone, and we were like, holy crap. I mean, I was shadow boxed. I'm like, damn, man.
Same.
He was such a powerful mentor. And that's what I see in you too. It's like, but I just love the fact. So I think, I want a black guy, fat guy, skinny guy, Asian guy, woman, whatever. And I think the more people you have is that mindset of mentorship, whether it's basketball or whatever, and I need to do a lot of things, I think our young generation is going to be so much better for it because we don't have a lot of that. And I see you talked about autism earlier. I got really involved in these autism groups. I was down in Hollywood. Ed Ezerson was running Autism Speaks. And I saw all these great guys, and some of the kids were autistic. And I'm like, and they're like talking a big game, but I'm like, well, shit, you guys all do it separately. Even you hang out, you talk the same game, but you have 10 different organizations. You don't come together as a team. I don't get that. It frustrates me. It's like everybody wants to score 40 points, even if you're doing autism. Hey, man, pass the ball, set a screen, work together. You need a team. I don't know how you feel about that, but mentorship and teamwork on the court is going life and for everything.
Yep. Yeah, I think, what happens, I think a lot of times, and it happened, I'll admit, I was like that early in my career because I was trying to scrape up $1. I literally was trying to scrape up. I applied for a job when I've been fired twice. And after the second time I got fired, I was like, I don't know if I want to go back through this again, right? And let me find a regular job, right? Like, who wants to coach 25 hours a day, 8 days a week, right? Like, let me find just a real regular job. And I didn't get any luck. No job. And so then when I started training, I was trying to scrape up $1, and I was probably, I wouldn't say competitive, but less inclined to work with somebody, less inclined to like support you. Whereas now I'll share, if somebody's doing a basketball camp, I'll share their flyer. Don't hurt my feelings none, right? Because it doesn't hurt me, and so you're right. I think we all have to get there. And I know for me, because I was in that situation as someone who was a little over here, is because I needed this $40. I needed this $50 at that. I mean, literally that $40 was going to pay part of my cell phone bill, and this $50, and I remember that hustle early to where now I'm a little bit more established to where, okay, I don't have to stress about money. I'm not rich, but I know that at the end of this 5 weeks, I'll make a little bit of money. At the end of the next one, I'll make a little bit of money. So I'm more inclined to support other people, honestly, than I was, 7 years ago when I first started, so you're not wrong what you're saying. But I know for me, I was a little bit like that at first because I was broke. I was just trying to carve it out. And I think once we kind of get past that piece of it, I don't think people realize we can all eat together. Like I'm a big believer that there is plenty out there. And I think if you're just doing what you love, the money is going to come eventually. I don't know how to explain it. Do what you love, serve people.
And it seems to me, people we all need to sustain ourselves and get by. You need your essentials, but when you're passionate and we call it in your zone, in your flow, and you're purposeful, it's not about money anymore. You need enough to get by, but people figure it out because they're in love. They're passionate, and so that I think all those negative feelings and those worries and stresses kind of go to the side when you're in your passion. You find a way. People have passion, find a way.
Correct. And again, this life that we're living too, right? At some point, right? I know money, and being in America, money is a big thing, but at some point, man, you gotta live. And if you're living to pay a bill, then you're not living. And so it's like, yes, you got to make your money. Cool. But I saw somebody talking about like who works 9 to 5 to pay somebody else for somebody else's dreams and then come home and be too tired to work on your own. Like you just worked all day at work, and now you come home at 5 and you're too tired to work on what drive your dreams. You're building somebody else's dreams. And so that's where I kind of got to that point to where like, let me build what I love. And again, like today, my son struggled on rebounding the last couple of days. Well, guess what we're all doing tonight? Everybody's working on rebounding, right? Like we're all working on rebounding tonight. And my son helps me decide how we're going to go, but I'm passionate about helping your kids too. Your kid's going to be a little bit better rebounder tonight. Like that's what we're going to work on.
Yeah. So do your kids take part in is he going to come to your group?
Oh yeah. My kids do. My sons, my daughter played 1 year of high school basketball. She wasn't really big on sports. But my sons are both I'll brag real quick. My son last night, they had 21 points at half. He had 19 points and 1 assist.
Damn, man.
Now, he's not like exceptionally gifted physically, but his skill level, he's been dribbling between his legs and behind his back. And like we go to the gym and I make him do passing drills and he soaks it up. I'm lucky. I'm lucky. He soaks it up. And then my younger son's like, well, I want to do that passing drill. Okay. So like my 9-year-old can take one dribble and throw a one-handed bounce pass left-handed. He threw a left-handed bounce pass, like backdoor bounce pass. I'm
a point guard. I love him already.
Yeah, man. The first thing I would ask kids when I coached them is, what's an assist? Who can tell me what an assist is? And I would tell them, man, whoever gets the most assists, you're going to get something. They never did get anything, but I loved them for it.
So Rob, to answer your question, yes, my kids do come. They're in their age group, and I bring them. I mean, this is what we do. I told my son over the summer, I had my 11-year-old coaching with the younger kids. I said, I need you to coach. I said, this is the family business. I don't have a real estate company. I don't own a landscaping company. I mean, this is the family business. So for the next few years, you want some money in your pocket, go get a basket. Go coach that basket, buddy. It's like this is. And so my kids are really, my kids are coaches like dreams. I mean, they're coachable. I would expect nothing less. I don't think you guys would either. They live with me. This is what we do. And
sure,
they're going to be at the gym tonight working on their game.
So when you meet somebody you don't know and say, I'm Arvin Mosley, and they go, what do you do, Arvin? What do you tell them?
That's so funny, because I always wonder about that. I'm a peak performance specialist, right? I'm a trainer. I'm a teacher. I tell people I'm a teacher. Like that, to me, that's the number one thing. I teach. I do believe, Rob, that I could teach anything in 7 days. So you give me a topic and you give me Google and say, hey, can you present this for 2 hours to a group of people? Sure. Because I think teachers teach, right? I think that's just what I am. I'm not an expert on everything, but I know how to work a room. I know how to build a lesson plan. And I also know how to help you reflect on what it is that you want to learn, And so I'm a teacher. I tell people I'm a teacher. I just happen to teach basketball mostly, but I'm a teacher. I didn't realize that's what I wanted to be. I didn't realize that's who I was, but I'm a teacher first.
Yeah.
Rob knows this about me, but it just makes me think of you. I mean, you're like, this guy. My idol is John Wooden. You know what I mean? I mean, this guy never talked about when, and he says, don't call me coach. He doesn't want to be called coach. He's a teacher. And that seems to be like, you're almost like I don't know, a younger John Wooden.
He is. He is. I mean, that's the fact, really.
Well,
I feel that
it
too.
is. I
We
always
got to
say
get you talking to Coach Brown, man.
Yeah.
I always say that coach is just what you call me, right? Just like Mr. Mr. Stern. That's just a title, but that's not really who you are, right? I think it's appropriate that you call me coach because I'm in the gym and you call me coach, but that's not. I'm a teacher, I'm a leader, I'm a caretaker. Like I've really come back to those three things over and over and over. I have more fun creating a lesson plan and then figuring out how to break through with each kid, and then how to get a high five at the end of the day. Like that's the fun stuff.
See, I don't know about you, Rob, but I think this man is a 3P champion.
Oh, I mean, he's
all the
like
people. We had some great people.
Yeah. Yeah. Hall of Famers.
I got my trophy here.
I agree. I can't
remember. My son made this for me a few years ago. I keep my trophy back here.
World's
greatest
dad.
Like nice. Well, I take a little umbrage to what people say. Now everybody's a coach. I got a friend who got a certificate, so he's a coach. This guy's a coach. And I don't even tell anybody, but I think a lot to myself. I'm a coach. And I've taught at the university level. I've coached at the high school level. To me, it's all the same. So coach to me takes a broader definition than most people give it. So when you say you're not a coach, it's what they call you, but that's not what you are, but you're a teacher. To me, they're almost interchangeable. If you're genuine, if you're the real deal, every coach is a teacher and every teacher is a coach.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think some people get enamored with the title though, and not what comes with it. And I think that's what you're talking about. To me, it's a title that you call me coach. When you walk in the gym, don't call me Arvin. I had a kid call me Arvin once. I was like, excuse me?
What?
Like I felt like Bobby Knight though. I felt like, hey, Bob. Like I felt like Bobby Knight for a second. I was like, you called me Arvin? And I kind of took a deep breath and and this one kid, they were testing me and they were testing their boundaries. And then I realized whose ego, so they want to call me Arvin. Okay. But nobody calls me Arvin. You call me coach, but I kind of let it go. And then and then they realized that it wasn't getting the reaction that they wanted and it didn't feel right. So they started calling me coach again.
Yeah. Well, you sound like, I know you got a class to get to. This has been a pretty good hour and a half.
I appreciate it.
And it seems like it flew because you have a lot of information and it's all great and it's all from the heart and the head. I agree with Greg. Your kids you coach are lucky to have you. I'm glad you feel so lucky to be you, which is a great way to feel. Anything else you'd like to tell people?
No, I just appreciate it. Thank you for having me on here. And, Greg and I have had a chance to talk quite a bit and I just get a chance to know you as well. I appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, anything I can do, I'm here to serve, and I like what you guys are doing and to be, in the same conversation of a guy like Dale Brown. I mean, that's pretty awesome, so,
yeah.
I definitely,
that's warranted. It's warranted.
So I just appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, no, this is fun.
You sound like Dale Brown. I mean, he talks the way you talk. He's got acronyms. He's got stories. And he's the most passionate guy I think I've ever met. And he's 86 years old.
Yeah.
So you definitely are reminiscent of that guy. And you talked about watching John Thompson and Tarkanian. For no reason in particular, I used to dig watching Dale Brown.
Yeah.
I don't even know why. Nothing in particular. I just thought he was a classy individual with the right amount of passion and restraint and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when you got a front line of this about 15 feet tall between Stanley Roberts and Shaquille O'Neal, and then you got Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, Chris Jackson lighting it up. I mean, those are some teams to watch right there.
Yeah.
Oh, man, Chris Jackson was the real deal. I remember having Sports Illustrated in my college room, and I was like, that dude could play as a freshman. That dude was
and he's
Shaq is kind of big, but that guy could play.
And he still can play. You seen him in the Big Three, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
He's a little twitch and be scoring his ass off.
Yeah,
don't give him a fraction of a second. He's gonna line it up.
But Dale Brown's greatest season was when his whole starting five got hurt. and he went into the tournament and went to the finals or the semis with
That's a great story.
a bunch of scrubs.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, I got to run.
Same here. I
Coach,
appreciate it.
teacher Arvin Mosley, it's been a pleasure, man.
Thank you.
I love to get to know you more because you
Wow.
are an amazing dude.
Greg and I we're gonna have that same conversation later.
Yeah,
And
hang
we're
on,
both gonna
Byron,
say,
so we can
"Oh
get
my
that.
God, how incredible is that guy?" So thank you for being that
Yeah,
guy,
thank you. Hey,
Arvin.
Rob, great to meet you too, my man. Great to
My
meet you. I
pleasure.
hope we let's circle back and let's talk again here before long.
All
Can't
right, go
wait.
Sonics.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it,
Thanks,
Greg. Talk to
Arvin.
you
Take
soon.
care. You too. All right, man.
Take care. Greg, I'll talk later.
Sounds good, Rob. All right, be good.
Wow. Yeah.
That's one intelligent dude. He's solid. That dude is
Holy
solid.
smokes. I mean, I don't even know if he made up all those acronyms or he
I
gathered.
don't either, but they're good.
They're great.
Wow.
And I
mean,
couldn't- I couldn't help but think, that is the kind of stuff I would tell people
oh,
in a desperate situation.
that
You
guy's
know?
a student. He's a student of all games. I mean, that guy is a student, and he gets it. And he doesn't stop until he knows it.
I'm hip. Now, is he 45 now? Is that what he was saying?
I think it's when I think he's older. I think he's close. I don't know. I think he's close to my age.
I mean,
But
he's
I'm
a
not-
he's a grandpa. I know
I
that.
think he's like, yeah, yeah. I think he's like 48 or 49, but I'm not positive.
Man, got a lot of wisdom. Got a lot of
does.
wisdom.
I
Yeah.
could listen to him all day. I mean, I learned some stuff.
I couldn't write fast enough. I'm seriously gonna have to go back and watch this thing again.
Yeah, man, that was a good one.
Yeah. Well,
They're all good, but that's not.
yeah.
It's not as good as it gets.
You know what? Listen, you're everything he is. You're not as slick as he is. And I don't mean that, in a condescending way. I mean,
I
he's
get it.
he's polished.
He's polished.
That guy could speak to the Senate.
He's a professor. He is. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's smooth.
Yeah. I'll vote for that guy for anything right
That's
now.
like Bobby Butter's brother, man. That's like smooth criminal right there.
Bobby Butter's brother.
Have you seen that commercial with Jimmy Kimmel? You gotta.
No, but I think Amy was telling me so, or you were telling me.
Yeah. Hey, man. Did you? Okay, I got one question. Did you watch the Pistons say Pittsburgh last night?
No, but I'm moving in that direction.
Rob, I don't know where you spend your time. You get off the tennis courts. You go watch. You go watch that movie.
I'm gonna have to breathe now.
That's a good lesson too. Just
It is
what do you say?
6
8.
2 8. Yeah,
That's a long time.
it is.
Can't breathe in that long.
I know.
All right. Well, I do got to run.
All
That
right,
was good,
Greg.
man. All right,
That was
Rob. Great
great.
job, man.
Okay, brother. I love you.
All right. Love you too. Take care.
Take care.